Chapter 21. Josef Mengele, Dr. Green and the American Mind Control Network. Josef Mengele, nicknamed Dr. Death or Angel of Death, was a German SS officer and physician in Auschwitz concentration camps during World War II. He was a notorious member of the team of doctors responsible for the selection of victims to be killed in the gas chambers and for performing deadly human experiments on prisoners. Arrivals deemed able to work were admitted into the camp, and those deemed unfit for labor were killed in the gas chambers. He left Auschwitz shortly before the arrival of the liberating Red Army troops. After the war he fled to South America. Dr. Josef Mengele evaded justice for decades and supposedly died in 1979 of a stroke in Brazil or Paraguay. His alleged remains were not given to authorities until 1985. He used Auschwitz as an opportunity to use inmates for human experimentation and was particularly interested in twins where amputation of limbs, infecting one twin with typhus, and other diseases and transfusing the blood of one into the other. He killed 14 twins in one night via chloroform injection into the heart, into dwarfs and people with physical abnormalities. Witness Vera Alexander described how he sewed two Romani twins together back to back in an attempt to create conjoined twins. The children died of gangrene after several days of suffering. He established a kindergarten for kids that were subject to his experiments along with all Romani kids under 6 years of age. He introduced himself as Uncle Mengele and offered them sweets upon visiting them. He was described as sadistic, lacking empathy and anti-Semitic, believing that the Jews should be eliminated entirely as an inferior and dangerous race. A former Auschwitz prison doctor said that he was capable of being so kind to the children, to have them become fond of him, to bring them sugar, to think of small details in their daily lives and to do things we would genuinely admire, and then, next to that, the crematoria smoke, and these children, tomorrow or in a half hour, he is going to send them there. Well, that is where the anomaly lay. Mengele's son Rolf said that his father showed no remorse for his wartime activities. Following now is an anonymous piece of information reported on angelfire.com. I encountered the group as a result of a personal investigation into a very strange series of deaths and bizarre behavior changes that I observed among my acquaintances in a chemical factory that produced raw materials for plastics manufacture. All I knew at the start was that about 50, now 100, employees had died of leukemia, aplastic anemia, various forms of cancer and other illnesses that fit with only two possible causes: long-term exposure to benzene or to low-level radiation. The pattern included a series of sudden, unexpected heart attacks among spouses of dead or dying workers who asked questions about the cause of their husbands' deaths. Since the plant supposedly had no radioactive materials, I litigated a large-scale case on the assumption that the only possible cause was benzene. About 3 years after the case was over, I won it. A series of employees there began exhibiting bizarre behavior changes. One of them privately confided in me, and her confidence has caused me to open a very private, personal investigation. I determined that this woman and a second female employee had been subjected to some form of trauma under hypnosis by several men connected with the plant's medical staff. Both men had participated in what seemed a Nazi group called the Order of the Fourth Reich. Both of the women were interrogated under hypnosis by the experts referred to earlier, under my direction. During the first 18 months of interrogations we learned that a form of mind control was used on the women and many other plant employees, as well as on my main male informant to conceal the covert manufacture of an illicit product at that factory. The group's agents used a mind control method that concealed their observations and memories of its production from themselves. Here is how it worked. Employees' trust was gained by the group's agents in the plant medical department. When the employees were called in for medical exams or given medication by the plant physician and other staff, the employees were instructed in methods they were to use to forget events they had observed at the plant. The employees were taught to remember to forget incidents that the group's agents did not want them to recall. In some cases, these instructions were accompanied by physical torture under drugged hypnosis until the employee complied with the instructions. The subject is highly technical, but the end result was the concealment of a witness's memory from the witness's own consciousness, except in a hypnotic state. Training of unconscious assassins are also known as U-boats, including Oswald, Siren, possibly Ray and many others like them. The subject cannot possibly be treated in the short space I have left. Bare bones, victims are drugged into regression to early childhood. They are subjected to incredible pain, many expiring in the process. The natural response to the levels of pain Dr. Mengele had perfected was dissociation of the conscious mind. In that state they were given new, German names and trained as one would train a killer guard dog. They kill on command. They are artificially produce multiple personalities. One of the top people in their development appears to have been Siren's psychiatrist, Dr. Diamond. There were other prominent psyche folks in on it. They have no memory of the kill, except when prompted by the proper stimuli. Mengele told my informant that he personally did the training on Oswald, location unknown, but we suspect Mexico City in the summer of 1963. The CIA gave John Mark's search for Manchurian Candidate what appears to be a real hokey, perhaps forged or fabricated, field report for the initial field test of an unconscious assassin in Mexico City in July of 1963. I suspect that if someone can get that file and bust a few balls, they'll find the memo given to Marks in his FOIA litigation was a substitute for one that named Oswald and depicted a successful experiment. The likely control of the project we suspect to have been Gelen, but the CIA director mentioned above may have also played a major role. Oswald was trained as a patsy only. He fired no shots. Siren was given the full course. His backup was a man posing as a guard. Ray, who killed Martin Luther King, had the Oswald-type training.